Good morning. How you doing? Yeah. All right. It's almost football season here. Yeah, excited to get started. These guys have worked really hard, the staff and players. In terms of the all-season program, their conditioning and all that. So we're excited to get out on the field. We've got a couple days here of acclimation, so it'll be not our full training camp practices yet, but it's just part of the process and give everybody a good opportunity to get acclimated both on the field and with their teammates, communication, adjustments, things like that. We have a lot of new players, 40, a little over 40 from the spring, and 70 guys that were on last year's team. So it's a lot of new people to get up to speed again in terms of communication, just kind of the way we practice, techniques, things like that. But coach has done a good job of closing that gap, and so we're excited to get out on the field and see it start coming together. So that process, as I said, will start today, and we'll go through the acclimation period and then really get rolling into it next week. But I think these steps are, the ones that obviously we need to take and that are required, and so we'll be in compliance with them.
We'll start right here in the center.
You deserve starting paper, sir. They come on with that you got to deal. So now you have a training camp in which you will go see until we get somebody else. That's obviously different for you. Is there something to be patient that way, and you can run as much as you can? Now having that benefit of seeing somebody is because the first game is the first lot of action. Sure.
Yeah, man, I think that's a really good point. And I've talked to, a lot of college coaches about that. And I think there's a little bit more of especially for us, a little bit more of an unknown because even the guys that were here, they weren't here with us, and how exactly they'll react in game situations and under pressure, and how quickly, easily we'll be able to adjust or not adjust and all that. We're going to have to, find out that on the run. But, it's the same for every other team. So, we'll work against ourselves to a point, and then at some point we'll start doing some of the things that we'll see from our opponents, starting with TCU. And that's, what we do is a little bit different than what some other teams do, but we need to work on what we need to work on, and then we'll transition into a game week.
Second quick question. Do you guys say, are you saying?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, we spent a lot of time, Mike and I spent a lot of time along with the scouts and the coaches of putting the team together, team building. That started with the wrap up of the 25 recruiting class, then the early portal in January, then a couple of late 25 add-ons who have come, and then obviously the spring portal, and we're still transitioning through one or two guys here at the end of the roster. So to see all those guys come together, to see the players who are here train hard and make significant improvements in their strength, explosion, and speed. And then what we have been able to do collectively is very, very encouraging. These guys are working hard. It's exciting to see what they're going to be able to do on the field. So, yeah, very much looking forward to it.
Right behind it here. End of year at the Yankees. Your presence has brought a lot of attention to this program. Everything you're doing is getting higher pied and hopefully attention watch that shine. You got that. But players, it's a different sound for players, whereas the spotlight may be on them more than it's ever been before, partly because of you'll be more silent. How do you manage that group as they're young to say, keep it from being something that's suffocate, where each screw up could be magnified, you're ready to see?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but again, regardless of that, I appreciate where you're coming from on that, but honestly, for all of us, control what we can control. Whoever's here or isn't here, that's out of our control. We have a job to do. We have a lot of work to accomplish, and we need to come together and build our team, both on and off the field, our chemistry, our communication, and of course our execution on the field. And so that's our biggest challenge. And what's external is external. And, honestly, a lot of it's just noise. It doesn't, we've seen all the preseason rankings and this and that and all, and it's, great. But that isn't going to affect us. We're going to, compete on Saturdays or Mondays or whatever day it is, and that'll determine what happens. Not some predictions or projections or anything else. So we'll just kind of ignore that, and move on.
And right by Wow, good to be here.
But back into the roster as far as what does he do? Student athletes, how many scholarships did you get to the War Padre? Above that. And then secondly, at Rick's, he had Max Nelson and just the way he's attacked sort of the recovery from that.
Gruesome, man.
Yeah. Well, sorry, Max first. Max has done a great job, worked really hard. He's made a tremendous amount of progress throughout the process, but really it's that last, call it 20% between not being able to play and really being ready to play, ready to start training camp, which is where he is now. So he's going to start out up there, but he didn't take any meaningful snaps in the spring. He worked out on his own. He threw some routes, but he wasn't involved in any team drills. So it's a big jump for him in terms of what he's able to do, although I think the progression is very gradual. It's 1% at a time, 1% at a time. But at some point, he's crossed that threshold, and so he'll be ready to participate out there with all the other players. Sorry, my memories. Oh yeah, so yes, so that's a great question. It's still a little bit of a work in progress. Our scholarships will be under 105. We do have a grandfather clause or rule in where the players that were walk-ons last year get grandfathered in, and so us, probably like most every other college team, will be actually over the 105 with those grandfathered players on. We have some players who are not on scholarship who would be under, let's call it the 105, and obviously most of them will be on scholarship, but there are some guys that are kind of in that gray area. Maybe they can earn a scholarship depending on what their role is and so forth. So from a number standpoint, we're in good shape. Like we're not going to have to release players to get to the 105. We already kind of did that in the spring, which was a difficult decision to make. But I think most of those players ended up at their other schools, and it will be playing this fall. So I do think it kind of worked out for them, and that they're in a situation where they'll have a chance to play. But we're not really going to be restricted on the roster size this year. I think it'll probably be something we'll have to work on next year. But for this year, we're actually under it. Thanks. Yeah. Love those bottom of the roster questions. I mean, a lot of people let that stuff go, but honestly, those are important decisions. Some of those players eventually are going to end up helping us. I mean, I just know that's the way it's going to work out. So, committee, those players are just as they're just as important as the top 10, but they're going to be factors on our team and have roles. So, we're constantly trying to make sure we, from top to bottom, do the best we can. Sorry. Yep.
Last row one. Yep. Adam's good inside you on. Hey, Bill. Just wanted to ask you about Freddie Ditchies and in running the offense, installing the offense, and just what that sort of process looks like. You're known as a guy for like defensive side of the ball things in your career. Like, just what does that look like if you couldn't be up to this offense? How much input have you had on what you guys going to run offensively, and just sort of that collaboration?
Right. Well, look, I would just say throughout my career, certainly as defensive coordinator, that's definitely been my role. But as a head coach, I've always tried to be involved in every aspect of the game, whether it's offense, defense, special teams, our strength program, our conditioning program, our off-the-field education of players, and so forth. It's important for me to, be a part of all the things that we do and to add emphasis to the players and the coaches or whoever's responsible for those areas. So, whether it's with Mike on special teams or Freddie or Steve, they have a lot of responsibility for the areas that they have. There's no question about that. But, from a team standpoint, I want to collectively put together the best plan and the best role for our players, which sometimes they overlap a little bit. And so in order to do that, I kind of have to, be a part of all of it. But in terms of Freddie, Freddie's a very aggressive coach. Just wants to, have a physical team, physical running game, physical presence on offense. We just don't want to run backwards on every play. Like, we want to be aggressive, and we have, you think we have the players to run that type of offense. I'm sure we're going to have to modify it a little bit. We have the depth at quarterback, and so we'll see how it all plays out. But, Freddie has a lot of experience, spent a lot of time in the NFL. He spent a lot of time in college football. And it's been honestly very helpful for him, for me, that the fact that he was here the last couple of years. So, he has a lot of experience and perspective on Some are things that were done, well, that we can build on. Maybe some things that we're changing, how that change might affect, just a relative of what's happened in the past. So he's been a great help, and I won't say addition because he was here. We're actually the addition, but for me, he's a great addition to my staff.
Second roll a lot. Yeah, Jeremiah Aller, inside Carolina. Bill, of course, I thought match a second ago. You used to could submit that quarterback. I'll give it those you guys in there. You and your staff had a target they read and started like Rick Ferdinand, they use the names.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We don't have a specific date. I think the time will be when we're sure. In my experience as a coach has been, at that position where you're, you want to define who that is, and what you generally don't want to do is pick player A and then end up going to player B, let them compete, and once you're sure it's player B, make it player B or player A, whoever it goes. So I think once we're confident that we know who has earned that spot, because that's what it'll be. It's not us picking them. It'll be that player earning it. Then we'll decide on that. If it's clear cut, then that player will be the player. If it's not clear cut, maybe the competition will continue into the early part of the season. And I've done that before at more at other positions than quarterback, but it could also be a quarterback where we'll see how it goes in the early part of the season. And if the performance, again, whoever earns it is going to be who gets it. That's the bottom line. Nobody's entitled to it. Nobody's going to give it anything. The player who plays the best and earns that playing time will get it. And I don't know who that's going to be. That'll be up to them. But it certainly be good to have that done before the first game, and maybe even 2 weeks before the first game. The sooner the better. But it's better to make the right decision than a quick decision. So that's what we'll try to do. But that's one of the key questions we have to answer.
You got Tremor Covenwald back center.
Don actually observed. Bill, with so many unknowns and new players, what is the preseason checklist, so to speak, blue light as far as progression, around these next piece, tackling, landing, and all these stuff?
Yeah, the biggest thing is evaluate the team. That's what we have to do, evaluate the team. We sort of have an idea of what the players who are here, that were here in the spring, can do. But again, I'd say a lot of those players have shown significant improvement, particularly in their strength conditioning, their explosion, their speed, and their techniques that they've been working on from the spring coaching. And so we'll see what that looks like. But then evaluate the other players, the many new faces that we have here, and see what kind of role they can carve out for themselves, and and how we can utilize them once we have a better understanding of their skills, and that we can see them. Whether it was transfer players or in some cases freshmen that are coming in, we have an idea what their skills are and think, hey, maybe this player can do certain things and this player can do certain things, but until they actually get out on the field and prove it and earn it, but we'll give them a chance, but they'll have to earn that over somebody else who is probably vying for the same role. So big thing for us in the next, I'd say, 10 days is to evaluate the team, and then start to fine tune from there.
Quick short quarters on this. Your resume is huge for stuff you don't see you're hiring talents at highest levels, but when you're assessing extra outputs, players who are developing physically, mentally, fundamentally, what makes that process more challenging? Evaluating all can college transfers and extra athletes, but also what are any specific indication look for when it comes to evaluating?
Yeah, you pretty much hit all the issues right there. The high school evaluations are harder because there's more of a discrepancy between the players that we're evaluating, power forward type players, versus honestly other players who aren't even going to play college football. High school is probably the end of their football career, and then in between. So it's hard to see. Sometimes it's hard to see what the level of competition is. Of course, you see a kid in person, which we had approximately 4,000 kids on campus in our 7-on-7 camps and our individual camps. That's helpful, or to go see the player actually practice at his high school, or games in the fall, which we didn't do last year, but we could do some of that this year. So those things are helpful, but the best evaluation from actually get on the field and do our stuff against our players. The college out evaluation, I'd say, is a little bit easier, similar to the NFL free agency, where you can see guys playing at a competition level that's more similar to ours. In some cases, there are guys that are going to play up, but in other cases, not. We have a couple of guys from Penn State and Florida, places like that. So that's pretty good competition right there. But we have some other players that are transferred in from, let's say, lower levels. So that's a little bit more challenging, but again, it is what it is, and we have the same opportunity everybody else does. So we're watching the same high school film that everybody in the school's watching. We're watching the same college transfer film that everybody else is watching, and really it's up to us to make the right evaluation for us and how a player fits for us, how he fits for another team. And their system could be two different things. We have to do what we feel like is best for the development of our team, and that's just not his on-the-field play, but also the other components that he brings, his work ethic, his leadership, his toughness, and so forth. So it's challenging. I'd say the biggest challenge of all that is just the volume. We're talking about like several thousand high school players. You weren't looking at several thousand players in the draft. And then you have the Florida players, which is another couple thousand. And you went look at a couple thousand free agents in the NFL. Was whatever the number was, it usually boiled down to, somewhere in the double digits. So the volume of players is a lot greater than what it was in the NFL.
Last old bye. Tom Brady that you added Gio Lopez and Andrew Simpson in that spring portal. Were you looking to fill specific holes in the spring portal, Ludo? We had evaluate those guys versus what you already had on your off there was a different thing. Maybe in the first portal where you struggled.
Yeah. No, I think you got it right. I think the first portal was we're just trying to find guys to fill the team. The second portal, we're looking for good football players, and they felt like any position. If the player wanted to come in and compete, and we thought he was a good player, then this is the right spot for him. And we'll give everybody an opportunity to compete. In the course of my career, we've had many free agents, low round draft choices who not only competed and earned playing time, but some became some of our best players. So players that that want to come in and compete and have shown enough skill, we'll take those guys, and we've taken plenty of them. We'll see how they do, but those are kind of the two things we're looking for. Anybody who's walking in here feeling like, well, I'm going to be a starting this or that, I'm entitled to this, that's not really the way it's going to work. They're going to have to earn it. If they want to come in and earn playing time and earn a roster spot and play at Carolina and play in the ACC, and get that kind of profile, then we'll give it to them, and we'll see what they can do. Whatever they get, they're going to earn. We're not handing out anything, just like nobody's handing out wins in this conference. You have to go earn them. We're going to have to earn our spots on the field. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Thank you. See you out there.
Georgia, he does still help you guys transition over. That's the deal. We're going to handle